Hi everyone, this is Catherine Love. This is my digital citizenship project presentation. Within this video, I have an introduction, my online safety assessment and action plan, discussing the mini lessons, a quick reflection, and conclusion. Real quick, I am a special education teacher at Soap Creek in Cobb County, and I am in a co-taught class in 5th grade. Half of my class are students who receive special education, where some students are ELL learners and some students are AC target students. So for my online safety assessment, I focused on improving by minimizing the risk of exposure to inappropriate email and content and contact. The goal of the action plan was to not just teach students, but to teach their families how to minimize the risk of inappropriate emails through workshops, weekly announcements, and practice opportunities. Now, inappropriate emails and contact, of course, does mean outside discussion from people, whether it's personal or a school-based email account with students. However, it is also student-to-student inappropriate emailing. So for this action plan, it was approximately about 8 weeks with essential staff, with the specialists, tech teachers, media specialists, administrators, and counselors. We have workshops and lessons taught by multiple educators to continue implementation after development, whether that be informal observations, home materials. And then what's next would be to consider redesigning the action plan to focus on online safety as a whole with those key essential staff members. So for my 6 mini lessons, I started with managing my online info, and that my focus question was, what can I do to keep my personal and private information secure? My second mini lesson to connect with that managing info was personal versus private. And my focus question was, what should I share and not share online for my students? I then moved to the 3 keys to being a good digital citizen, which was, how will you stay safe, kind, and responsible while using technology? Connecting with that mini lesson and the previous one was, I titled it Cite It Copyright Edition. And the focus question was, is it important to follow copyright laws and take action to respect others' work? And then for my last 2, we're focusing on empathy. The first one was solely, how can you show empathy? How can you respond with empathy both online and in person? My last mini lesson was, how can you show empathy online? How would you respond to someone with empathy online? So for some reflection, for the managing my info online, that was focusing on distinguishing the private versus personal information with students. I incorporated movement games, true and false game, and a sorting of personal and private information. And students were asked to apply what they learned to real-world scenarios. For that personal versus private mini lesson, that focused on managing private information with online safety. We played a Guess Who game, we had group discussions and written responses, and I used only age-appropriate scenarios that were relatable and applicable to students. And I believe I gained confidence in guiding group discussions about digital safety. For those 3 keys to being a good digital citizen, that mini lesson focused on helping students understand safety, ethics, and the legality in digital spaces through a whole group activity to practice digital footprints, identifying if something is safe, ethical, or legal. And students engaged in deep discussions and made connections between plagiarism and writing with evidence, which moved to our Cite It Copyright Edition lesson, and that focused on the previous lesson in the copyright laws, discussing real-world, age-appropriate scenarios where students reflected on their own actions. And I improved this by using student responses to follow up lessons and instruction. For those last 2, that first empathy mini lesson was focused on connecting digital citizenship and social emotional learning, aimed to support students' understanding of sympathy and empathy. We played empathy role-playing scenarios based on in-person interactions by deepening their understanding with digital behavior and emotional intelligence. For that final empathy mini lesson, that focused on connecting the previous lesson and digital safety with that social emotional learning. We played empathy role-based scenarios based on real-world digital interactions. And I was really proud of the creating of multimodal activities that supported discussion, reflection, and critical thinking. So to conclude, I really learned that digital citizenship is more than just following digital rules. It's about teaching empathy, responsibility, and safe online behavior in a way that is applicable to students and relatable. My biggest takeaway was that students engaged more when the lessons were relatable and role playing was used to support discussions. Next time, I would include more self reflection opportunities and include more formative checks to assess comprehension and reflection. For other next steps, I would integrate digital citizenship across curriculum and apply it to other academics. I do hope to collaborate with my grade level team to integrate technology with other areas like social studies and science. And overall, I think I've become more confident in my ability to lead those discussions relating technology, even if it's outside my comfort zone, and leading how to model digital empathy with students. And I assumed more of an active role for promoting positive online safety more than I have in the past. I really appreciate you all listening. I hope you have a great day.